Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 3 of Voices of Dunnet Landing. I am your host, and let me start off today's podcast by telling you all a little about myself and what I know about Maine. Maine is a great place for tourists who wants to get a glimpse of a peaceful lifestyle. I personally live in Boston, Massachusetts, but come to Maine for the summers to focus on writing my books and observing local Maine culture. Today we will be sitting down with Mrs. Blackett to ask about her experiences growing up and living her whole life in Maine. For those of you who are unfamiliar with her, she is an 86-year-old woman who lives on Green Island with her son William, just beyond the coast of Dunnet Landing. William helps Mrs. Blackett do everyday tasks. However, Miss Blackett is very independent and fierce for her age, that's for sure. She also has a daughter, the town herbalist Elmira Todd, who sails out to Green Island once in a while to see her mother and give her company. Let's welcome her to today's podcast.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Mrs. Blackett. Although Dunnet Landing is not my home, I live on an island called Green Island, which is not very far away. My dear daughter Elmira lives in Dunnet Landing and has done very well there. And I have another child too, a son named William, and he lives with me on this island. Over the course of my 86 years of life, I've become very familiar with Dunnet Landing and the people that live in it. You ought to drop by my daughter sometime when this episode's over. And I also have a very close relationship with my daughter, even though we don't live together. My daughter and my son have very different personalities, you see. My daughter is more outgoing and she enjoys talking about her life and her family. My son can tend to shy away from people, not feel comfortable talking to them. But if you give him some time and attention, he'll warm right up to you. He's a sweet little sugar thing.
Doesn't that just sound like the most peaceful lifestyle ever? I sure think it does. Now, let's move on to our first question. Mrs. Blackett, why do you choose to reside on the quaint green island and not actually in town? Wouldn't it just be easier to live in Dunnet Landing so you could be closer to your town and your family?
Oh, well, hon, to be completely honest, I enjoy my peaceful seclusion. I can visit whenever I want, but I also have the option to leave. Don't get me wrong, I love my daughter and my community dearly, but Dunnet Landing is no place for me. I have everything I need right here on Green Island with William. I can make him go to the mainland to take care of our supplies. He helps me turn over my carpet when I need him to, but I just like being my own woman, dear.
Still got that independence? We love it, Miss Blackett. We're going to cut to our first commercial break, but stay tuned for more tales with Miss Blackett.
Do you like adventures? Do you wish to admire more of Maine's scenery throughout all 4 seasons? Well, you're in luck. Green Island's homegrown Pointed Firs Scenic Tours gives tours through all 4 of Maine's mesmerizing seasons. Upon arrival to the island, you will see Maine's rocky coast, the wildlife, and the stunning views atop various hillsides. What is our biggest attraction, you may ask? The tour is given by the one and only dashing Mr. William Blackett. William will be offering tours at various times during the week, so call today to book your slot now. Call 207-436-5782.
Welcome back, everyone! For listeners just joining today's episode, we are talking with Miss Blackett, learning all about her precious lifestyle on Green Island in Maine. Now then, Miss Blackett, what was it like being a child and growing up in Maine? What was the pace of your lifestyle like? It must have been so peaceful.
Oh, yes, being a young gal in Maine was quite the experience. One time I was skipping along the road, happy as can be, and I was chased by a goose. I do sure miss my childhood. Things were so much different then than they are now. But heck, I'm still a child at heart, and that's truly what matters, right? Don't you so haste yourself, I like to say to my daughter. Usually that's going up the hill to my house, though. Like, have you seen her going up to my house? She don't climb that hill as often as William Boy and I do. She thinks she can run up there and not be wheezing by the end of it, but I climb that hill more than she does. She's the one wheezing by the end of it, and she likes to tell me I need to worry about my age. Oh, there's no need to worry and hurry and getting old. Life is going to go at its pace, and you just got to go for the ride. Oh, my apologies, dear. Did I go off track? Anywho, I love growing up in this area and have been here ever since. I spent much of my childhood with my grandmother at my pa's house. When I look around that house, it's as if nothing ever changed, and I'm still just a little girl running around those halls.
That is just so wonderful, Miss Blackett. It truly does sound like a dream to grow up in Maine. We have to cut for another break, but first, I'll ask you this last question to ponder during the break. How do you feel about Dunnet Landing? Do you believe all the people who live here respect and care for one another? What is the community like? We'll be right back.
Come experience one of Johnny Bowden's brilliant boat rides off the beautiful coast of Maine. Johnny takes the boats out 4 times a day: sunrise, noon, 3 p.m., and sunset. The rocky shores of Maine are filled with many beautiful islands, and we dock at Dunnet Landing, Shell Heap Island, and even Green Island, where you may see Mrs. Blackett. Tours fill up fast, so grab your spot today at boats.com. And if you're lucky, Johnny may stop by old Joanna's stomping grounds on the Shell Heap Island. Again, that's boats.com.
And we're back. In case you've forgotten, our last question for Mrs. Blackett is, how do you feel about Dunnet Landing? Do you believe all the people who live here care and respect one another? What is the community like?
Darling, did you hear a voice just now telling people to come visit my island?
Oh, Mrs. Blackett, I don't believe I know what you mean.
Right. Anyway, although I do love living the independent life with my spruce woods on my island, I also love this little town and the people in it. Now, not too long ago, we had ourselves a little reunion, and my daughter brought a lovely friend around. You know, you kind of look like her a little bit. Anyway, she said something along the lines of us being a New England family. And then, in that little book she wrote about us, she also mentioned we were like Greek gods or whatever, and it was weird. But anyway, the New England family part, that rings true for our town. You ought to come visit sometime, dearie. I've been told I know the uses of a parlor, and I think you would just love my house.
Maybe one of these days, Miss Blackett, I will have to inform everyone back home how great Maine is, especially Dunnet Landing and Green Island. Maybe I'll even use this new info for one of my books in the future. That's all the time we have today. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Voices of Dunnet Landing, and be sure to stay tuned for next week's episode to hear more adventures when we talk with Captain Littlepage.